Chosen one, this message is not reaching you by accident. What you are sensing right now is a divine summons, a holy interruption, because heaven is drawing your attention to an area that has quietly determined the flow of your provision. For a long time you believed the delay was external, the economy, the timing, the resistance. But the Spirit is revealing that the key was never outside your house. It was within the covenant. Anointed one, there is a divine flow reserved for marriages that choose unity over separation, alignment over independence, and stewardship over control. Heaven never designed your finances to operate in fragments. When two became one, the flow was meant to become one as well. This is why the pressure increased, why the friction around money intensified, and why the breakthrough felt close but unreachable. What was divided could not carry what was assigned. Chosen one, when spouses align their resources, their vision and their trust, scarcity loses its authority and supernatural supply begins to respond. This is not about budgeting alone. This is about covenant. This is about activating a sacred trust that heaven recognizes and backs with provision. Stay with this message until the end. If your spirit recognizes this word quietly, align yourself, subscribe to remain in this flow, and comment 777 as a sign of agreement. What is about to be revealed will shift how wealth moves through your household forever. Chosen one. The reason this message feels heavy is because heaven is pressing on an area you were never taught to examine spiritually. For years you prayed for increase, for relief, for expansion, yet the flow felt inconsistent. What the Spirit is revealing now is not condemnation, it is correction, not punishment, alignment. Divine provision has always responded to order, and order begins in covenant. Anointed one. Most couples never realize that money is not neutral. It carries memory, fear, pride, survival instincts, and unhealed wounds. I've seen this firsthand. I've watched loving couples worship together yet quietly war over finances. Not because they were selfish, but because they were protecting themselves. One held tightly because scarcity once almost broke them. The other avoided responsibility because pressure once crushed their spirit. And heaven waited not because it was unwilling to bless, but because division blocks flow. This is the scarcity trap no one warns you about. When finances are fragmented, authority is fragmented. When resources are hidden, vision is weakened. You can pray together, love deeply, and still unknowingly restrict the very supply you're asking God to release. Not because God is withholding, but because heaven will not reinforce disorder. Divine flow follows unity. Chosen one covenant was never designed to be emotional only. It is spiritual, practical, and financial. When two became one, that oneness was meant to touch every area, including money. The moment finances are treated as mine versus yours, something subtle shifts in the spirit. Trust becomes conditional, vision becomes negotiable, and provision becomes delayed, not denied, delayed, until alignment returns. I remember a season when nothing made sense financially. Income came in, but peace never stayed. Arguments weren't loud, but silence was heavy. What finally broke the cycle wasn't more money. It was a conversation that required humility. We put everything on the table, not just numbers, but fears. The fear of being controlled, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of repeating our parents' mistakes. That night didn't make us rich, but it unlocked something far more important. The atmosphere changed, and soon after opportunities we didn't chase began to appear. Anointed one, that's how divine flow works. It doesn't respond to hustle first, it responds to alignment. Heaven watches how you steward what is already in your hands before releasing what is assigned to your future. This is why some couples make more money yet feel poorer, while others with less walk in peace and favor. Flow is not about amount, it is about agreement. Chosen one unity does not mean control. It does not mean one voice dominates the other. True financial unity is mutual submission to vision. It is when both partners stop asking, "What do I need to feel safe?" and begin asking, "What has heaven entrusted to us?" When a unified budget becomes an altar, every expense becomes intentional, every sacrifice becomes sacred, every seed becomes strategic. This is where many miss it. They treat budgeting like restriction instead of worship. But when finances are aligned in covenant, money stops being a source of tension and starts becoming a tool of purpose. You stop asking whether you can afford something and start asking whether it aligns. And when alignment becomes your filter, provision begins to chase you. Anointed one. I've watched couples break cycles of debt, not by earning more, but by agreeing more. I've seen businesses stabilize when spouses stopped competing and started covering each other. I've seen homes shift when generosity became joint instead of individual. There is something heaven honors when two people agree, not just emotionally, but economically. Scripture calls it one flesh. Heaven treats it as one flow. Chosen one, this is where supernatural supply activates. Not because you performed a ritual, but because you restored order. When giving becomes collective, receiving becomes accelerated. When stewardship becomes shared, opportunities multiply. You begin to notice favor where there used to be friction. Doors open that require no explanation. Conversations happen that feel divinely timed. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. I want to speak directly to the hesitation in your spirit. You are not wrong for feeling cautious. Many have been hurt, financially betrayed, misled, or left carrying burdens alone. Heaven sees that. Unity does not ignore wisdom. It invites healing. It rebuilds trust, slowly, honestly, prayerfully. Divine flow does not rush restoration. It honors process. Chosen one. Moving from my money to our kingdom, trust is not about losing control. It is about gaining authority. Authority to steward, to build, to bless, to leave legacy. When couples walk in unity, they attract opportunities that isolated individuals rarely sustain. Favor begins to follow the household, not just the person. And that favor is not for luxury alone, it is for impact. Anointed one. Your marriage is not just a relationship, it is a conduit. Heaven does not pour randomly, it pours through vessels prepared to carry weight. When unity becomes your foundation, wealth no longer tests your bond, it strengthens it. And generosity becomes your testimony, not your performance. Chosen one. If this word feels close, it is because heaven is intervening. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. There is an elevation available when alignment is restored. Not flashy, not forced, but undeniable. Let your heart stay open. Let humility lead. Let unity begin where fear once ruled. This is not the end of the conversation. It is the moment of recognition. Heaven is ready to move, and the flow is closer than you think. There is a moment in every covenant where heaven begins to test not your faith, but your agreement. This is where many couples sense resistance and assume opposition has increased when in truth alignment is being invited. What feels like pressure is often preparation. What feels like exposure is actually instruction. Heaven is not trying to embarrass you, it is trying to entrust you. Anointed one, supernatural flow does not arrive to impress you, it arrives to assign you. And before heaven assigns greater weight, it ensures the vessel is sealed. Unity is that seal. When two hearts agree, the atmosphere around them changes. Peace replaces anxiety, clarity replaces confusion, and money, which once amplified fear, begins to amplify purpose. I've learned that divine provision often shows up quietly at first, not with fireworks, but with subtle shifts. Conversations become easier, decisions feel lighter, there's less arguing about small expenses and more agreement about long-term vision. These are not coincidences, they are signs that order has returned, and order is the language heaven responds to. Many couples ask why generosity feels risky when resources feel tight. The reason is simple: fear always speaks loudest when alignment is forming. Fear wants control, faith wants cooperation. When spouses give together, even in small ways, something powerful happens in the unseen. It's as if heaven recognizes the unity and marks it, not because of the amount, but because of the agreement. I remember a season where giving felt irresponsible on paper. Bills were real, responsibilities were heavy, but there was a shared conviction, quiet, unforced, peaceful. We didn't announce it. We didn't dramatize it. We simply obeyed together. And within weeks, opportunities emerged that had nothing to do with what we gave, but everything to do with what shifted in us. Confidence rose, fear lost its grip, and doors opened that had been closed for years. This is how supernatural supply often works. It doesn't replace wisdom, it enhances it. It doesn't cancel effort, it redirects it. When couples align their finances with God's economy, they stop reacting and start discerning. They learn when to move and when to wait, when to invest and when to preserve, when to speak and when to stay silent. Discernment becomes sharper because division no longer clouds it. Chosen one, heaven is deeply attentive to how you steward peace. Peace is not passive, it is a sign of alignment. When financial unity is restored, peace becomes the governing force instead of urgency. Decisions are no longer rushed, purchases are no longer emotional, plans are no longer built on comparison, and when peace governs, provision follows. There is a reason Scripture speaks of two agreeing on earth. Agreement is not just verbal, it is directional. When spouses agree on vision, money naturally follows direction instead of distraction. You stop bleeding resources through misalignment. You stop leaking energy through silent resentment. And suddenly what you have stretches further than it ever did before. This is not magic, it is stewardship under grace. Anointed one. Some of you are realizing that past financial pain taught you to guard yourself instead of inviting partnership. You survived by staying independent. That survival kept you alive, but it may now be limiting your expansion. Heaven is gentle with this realization. It does not shame you for what you needed to do to survive. It simply invites you to evolve. Unity does not mean vulnerability without boundaries. It means building trust with intention. It means choosing transparency over assumption. It means allowing healing to touch the places money once wounded. And healing is not rushed, it is respected. There is also a prophetic dimension to this season. Many households are being repositioned not just for comfort, but for influence. Wealth in God's economy is never isolated. It flows through people who can carry it without being consumed by it. That is why unity matters. When two stand together, they can carry what one would drop. You may notice that as alignment increases, distractions decrease. Opportunities that once felt tempting no longer pull you. Shiny offers lose their appeal. You become less impressed by speed and more committed to sustainability. This is maturity. Heaven trusts maturity. Chosen one. Let me say this clearly: you are not late. The delay you felt was not denial. It was protection. Heaven was shielding you from receiving too much too soon, because wealth without unity amplifies fracture. But wealth with unity multiplies impact. Some of you will soon notice unexpected favor around your household. Not lottery miracles, but strategic blessings. Introductions that matter. Ideas that fit. Solutions that arrive before problems escalate. These are the fruits of alignment. And they often appear ordinary until you realize how precisely timed they are. I've watched couples step into new income streams, not because they chased them, but because they became ready for them. Their conversations shifted, their priorities aligned, their giving became intentional, and suddenly resources began to respond. This is the divine mechanics of flow. Heaven funds what it can trust. Anointed One unity also protects you. When spouses are aligned, discernment increases. You are less vulnerable to traps disguised as opportunity, less susceptible to pressure, less reactive to fear. You check decisions together, you pray together, you wait together. And in that waiting, heaven often moves faster than expected. This season is not about perfection, it is about posture, a posture of surrender, a posture of agreement, a posture that says, what we have is not ours alone, it is entrusted to us. When that posture is sincere, provision becomes purposeful. There is a legacy forming beyond what you can see. Children learn from what they observe, not what they're told. When they see unity, they inherit security. When they see generosity, they inherit confidence. When they see peace around money, they inherit freedom. This is wealth beyond numbers. Chosen one. If your heart feels tender right now, that is a good sign. Tender hearts receive instruction without resistance. Stay open, stay humble, stay aligned. Heaven is not finished adjusting your flow. What is forming now is stable. It will last, and it will carry weight without crushing you. There is a shift that happens when unity moves from theory into practice. At first it feels unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable, because agreement requires surrender, and surrender always confronts ego. But once that surrender takes root, something unmistakable begins to change. The atmosphere in the home softens. Conversations carry less tension. Decisions stop feeling heavy. This is not emotional coincidence. This is spiritual alignment settling in. Chosen one. Heaven does not rush this stage because this is where character is refined. This is where intentions are purified. When spouses choose to move as one, the Spirit begins to examine not just what you do with money, but why you do it. Motives surface. Old patterns reveal themselves. And instead of breaking you, this exposure heals you. What once operated in the shadows is brought into light, not to shame, but to restore authority. I've learned that money is often the loudest mirror in a marriage. It reflects trust levels, communication habits, and unspoken fears. When finances are divided, those reflections become distorted. But when unity is restored, clarity follows. You begin to see each other more accurately, not as threats or obstacles, but as partners carrying the same assignment. Anointed one. There is a divine intelligence released when two people agree. It's subtle but powerful. Ideas come with less strain. Planning feels guided instead of forced. You stop second-guessing every move. This is the flow state of abundance, not frantic, not rushed, calm, directed, and purposeful. This is where many expect instant overflow and become discouraged when it doesn't arrive immediately. But here this clearly supernatural supply often begins with supernatural restraint. Heaven teaches you how to hold before it teaches you how to receive. You learn to say no without guilt. You learn to wait without anxiety. You learn to discern timing. These are not delays, they are upgrades. Chosen one restraint is a form of power. When couples learn to restrain impulse together, they build trust with heaven. They demonstrate that they can steward increase without being ruled by it. And once that trust is established, expansion becomes safe. I remember a season where opportunities came quickly, too quickly. On the surface, they looked like answers to prayer. More income, faster growth, bigger exposure. But something in our spirit felt unsettled. Because unity sharpens discernment, we paused, we prayed, we waited, and within weeks we saw clearly what would have cost us peacetime and alignment. That pause protected us. And shortly after, a better opportunity arrived, quieter, steadier, and sustainable. This is how heaven leads unified households, not through pressure, but through peace, not through urgency, but through clarity. When you walk in unity, you become less impressed by speed and more aligned with timing. Divine timing does not rush. It arrives full. Anointed one. The world teaches couples to build separate safety nets. Heaven teaches couples to build shared foundations. When fear governs finances, independence feels safer. But when trust is restored, unity becomes strength. You stop asking, what if something goes wrong, and start asking, what are we being prepared for? That shift in question changes everything. You begin to notice that resources start organizing themselves around you. Expenses stabilize. Income becomes more predictable. Opportunities align with your capacity instead of stretching you thin. This is not accidental. This is heaven honoring stewardship. Chosen one. Generosity takes on new meaning in this stage. It is no longer sporadic or emotional. It becomes intentional. You give with clarity. You bless with wisdom. You support causes that align with your values, not just your emotions. And when generosity flows from unity, it carries authority. Heaven recognizes it as mature giving. I've seen households experience breakthroughs, not because they gave more, but because they gave together. There is a power released when agreement backs generosity. It removes fear from the act. It removes regret from the seed. And it opens channels that isolated giving cannot access. This is also where legacy begins to take shape, not in inheritance documents, but in daily habits. Children notice when parents are aligned. They feel security when decisions are consistent. They grow up without absorbing the anxiety that so many associate with money. That peace becomes their inheritance. That confidence becomes their foundation. Anointed one unity also teaches patience. When two people agree to wait together, waiting no longer feels like loss. It feels like preparation. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop measuring success by visibility. You begin to value depth over speed. This is where households mature into conduits, not consumers. There is a reason some families carry influence across generations, while others repeat cycles of struggle. It is not talent, it is alignment. When unity governs decisions, cycles break quietly and permanently. Chosen one. If you are sensing a deeper responsibility forming, that is because heaven is expanding your capacity. You are not being asked to do more. You are being asked to steward better, to listen more closely, to move more intentionally. This is elevation without noise. You may also notice resistance from unexpected places, not always external, sometimes internal. Old habits resist change. Old mindsets push back. This is normal. Alignment challenges comfort, but comfort was never the goal. Authority was. Anointed one, do not confuse ease with alignment. Some aligned seasons require discipline. Some require restraint. Some require saying no to good things to make room for assigned things. When spouses walk in unity, these decisions become lighter because they are shared. You carry the weight together, and weight shared becomes strength. Chosen one. Heaven is shaping your household into something stable, trustworthy, and impactful. Not flashy, not fragile. Something that can carry increase without collapsing under it. This is how divine flow becomes sustainable. Stay grounded, stay aligned, stay humble. What is forming now will last. There comes a point where unity stops being something you practice and becomes something you embody. It is no longer an effort you have to remember. It becomes the way your household breathes. Decisions flow naturally. Trust settles deeply. And what once required long conversations now moves with quiet understanding. This is the stage where heaven begins to entrust influence, not just provision. Chosen one, influence always precedes expansion. Before resources increase, responsibility increases. Before wealth multiplies, vision clarifies. This is why some households receive sudden gain and lose it just as quickly, while others grow steadily and endure. Endurance is the language of heaven, and endurance is born in unity. Anointed one, you may be noticing that as alignment deepens, your tolerance for chaos decreases. You are less willing to entertain drama, pressure, or unnecessary risk. This is not fear. This is discernment maturing. When unity governs a household, distractions lose their power. You become selective, not defensive. Focused, not rigid. I've watched couples step into this phase and feel confused at first. They expected excitement, but instead they felt sobriety. They expected celebration, but instead they felt responsibility. That is because this is the stage where wealth stops being a dream and starts becoming an assignment, and assignments carry weight. Chosen one. Heaven does not send weight to vessels that cannot hold it. That is why unity is not optional. When two people walk as one, they stabilize each other. One catches what the other misses. One slows down when the other rushes. One listens when the other speaks too quickly. This balance is not accidental. It is designed. This is also the season where generosity becomes strategic. You stop reacting to every need and start discerning which needs you are called to meet. You realize you cannot help everyone, but you are responsible for someone. That clarity protects you from burnout and misuse. Heaven honors clarity. Anointed one. There is a difference between being generous and being assigned. Assigned generosity carries authority. It produces fruit beyond the moment. It creates ripples that return multiplied. When spouses discern assignments together, their giving carries weight in the unseen. It opens doors not just for provision, but for access. Access is often misunderstood. It is not about status. It is about trust. When heaven sees that a household can steward peace, unity, and generosity without pride, access is granted. Access to rooms you didn't ask to enter, conversations you didn't force, opportunities you didn't chase. I've experienced this personally. There were seasons when doors opened simply because alignment was visible. People could sense stability. They could feel the absence of desperation. And that absence created trust. Trust attracts opportunity faster than ambition ever could. Chosen one. This is where the narrative shifts from what can we get to what are we meant to build. Building requires patience. It requires consistency. It requires resilience. But when unity undergirds the process, building becomes sustainable instead of exhausting. You may also notice that comparisons lose their grip. Other people's success no longer intimidates you. Their pace no longer pressures you. because your household is no longer measuring progress by speed, but by alignment. This freedom is priceless. Anointed One, heaven is deeply invested in households that choose alignment over appearance. Appearance impresses people. Alignment moves heaven. When your household is aligned, even setbacks are repurposed. Losses become lessons. Delays become refinements. Nothing is wasted. This is also where communication becomes sacred. Conversations are no longer transactional, they are intentional. You listen to understand, not to respond. You plan to protect peace, not to win arguments. This emotional maturity strengthens financial stability more than any strategy ever could. Chosen One. Some of you are realizing that unity requires ongoing maintenance. Alignment is not a one-time decision. It is a daily posture, small check-ins, honest conversations, shared prayers. These habits may seem simple, but they build resilience, and resilience is what carries wealth across seasons. There is also a spiritual covering that forms over unified households, not immunity from difficulty, but protection from collapse. Storms may come, but they do not dismantle you. Pressure may increase, but it does not fracture you. This stability attracts favor. Anointed One favor often follows those who do not need it to survive. When your household is stable, you make decisions from strength, not fear. You invest wisely, you give joyfully, you wait patiently, and in that posture, favor finds you. You may be sensing a deeper calling emerging, not louder but clearer, not dramatic but steady. This is because unity clears the noise that once distracted you. When internal alignment is restored, external direction sharpens. Chosen One. This is the phase where legacy moves from concept to construction. You begin thinking beyond immediate needs. You consider the impact of your choices on future generations. You invest in foundations, not just outcomes. This foresight is evidence of maturity. Maturity is attractive to heaven. It signals readiness. Anointed Ones, stay attentive in this season, not anxious attentive. Pay attention to peace. Follow clarity. Protect unity. Heaven is shaping something durable in your household. Something that can carry weight without breaking. Something that can bless others without depleting you. This is not about perfection, it is about posture, a posture of agreement, a posture of humility, a posture of trust. What is forming now is quiet, but it is powerful, and it will stand. There is a sacred confidence that begins to rise when unity has been tested and proven. It is not loud, it does not need validation, it does not announce itself, it simply stands. This is the confidence of a household that knows it is aligned, covered, and guided. And this confidence becomes the environment where increase feels natural instead of intimidating. Chosen One. This is where many misunderstand divine flow. They assume confidence comes after abundance. But in heaven's order, confidence comes before it. Confidence that you can steward without panic. Confidence that you can receive without pride. Confidence that you can release without fear. This is why unity is so closely tied to expansion. It creates internal security before external growth. Anointed One, as this security settles in, you may notice something surprising. Your desires begin to change. You still value comfort, but you no longer chase excess. You still appreciate quality, but you are no longer driven by image. You begin to value stability, freedom, and impact more than display. This is not loss of ambition. This is refinement of purpose. I remember realizing that what I once prayed for no longer held the same appeal. Not because it was wrong, but because something deeper had formed. Peace became more valuable than progress. Alignment became more valuable than speed, And that shift did not diminish growth. It stabilized it. Chosen one. Heaven does not pour abundance into chaos. It pours into confidence. Confidence that is rooted in unity does not fear loss because it understands stewardship. When two people agree on vision, they can face uncertainty without fracturing. They can face growth without losing themselves. This is also where wealth begins to move differently. It stops feeling like something you chase and starts feeling like something that circulates. Income flows in, resources flow out, and both movements feel intentional. You are no longer hoarding for safety or spending for relief. You are stewarding for purpose. Anointed one. This circulation is vital. Stagnant resources breed anxiety. Moving resources breed trust. When spouses agree on how resources move, tension dissolves. You no longer fear conversations about money because those conversations are no longer battlegrounds. They become strategy sessions. You may also notice that creativity increases. Ideas come more freely. Solutions appear without strain. This is because unity removes internal resistance. When resistance is gone, creativity flows. And creativity is one of heaven's favorite currencies. Chosen one. Some of you are being prepared to build things that require long-term vision. Businesses, ministries, investments, projects that outlive trends. These require patience and agreement, not just at the beginning, but throughout the journey. Unity is what sustains momentum when excitement fades. There will be moments where the work feels ordinary, where progress feels slow, where results are not immediately visible. Unity keeps you steady in those moments. It reminds you why you started. It anchors you to purpose instead of emotion. Anointed one. This is also where generosity matures further. It becomes less reactive and more prophetic. You sense when to give before the need is obvious. You sense when to withhold without guilt. This discernment protects both your resources and your heart. I've seen how unified households become safe places for others, not because they have all the answers, but because they carry peace. People are drawn to peace. They trust peace. And that trust opens doors to influence that money alone cannot buy. Chosen one influence is often misunderstood as visibility, but true influence is quiet authority. It is the ability to shape outcomes without forcing them. It is the ability to lead without controlling. This authority grows naturally in unified households. You may also notice that your household becomes less reactive to external noise. Economic headlines no longer dictate your peace. Social pressure loses its grip. You are informed but not governed by fear. This stability is rare and heaven values it. Anointed one. This is where legacy deepens, not just in what you build, but in how you live. Children, family, and community observe your consistency. They learn what alignment looks like. They learn that money does not have to divide, that growth does not require compromise, that unity is strength. Chosen one, there is also a refining happening in how you speak about wealth. You become more careful, more intentional. You stop exaggerating. You stop minimizing. You speak truthfully, wisely. Words carry weight when they come from alignment. This is not about secrecy born from fear. It is about discretion born from maturity. You understand that not everyone needs access to your process. Some only need to see the fruit. This wisdom protects what is growing. Anointed one, as this maturity settles, heaven begins to trust you with timing. You sense when to act and when to wait. You are not rushed by opportunity or paralyzed by uncertainty. This balance is rare, and it is powerful. You may feel a deeper sense of responsibility now, not burden responsibility. The kind that comes with awareness. Awareness that what you carry can bless or burden others depending on how it is stewarded. This awareness does not overwhelm you, it grounds you. Chosen one, ground yourself in this season. Do not rush to prove anything. Do not compare your progress. Protect unity fiercely. Protect peace intentionally. Protect vision humbly. What is being built is not fragile. It is layered. It is tested. It is prepared. And it is aligned. Heaven is not finished, but what is already formed is strong. There is a quiet authority that settles over a household that has walked through alignment and remained faithful to it. It does not need affirmation. It does not need explanation. It carries weight simply because it has been forged through surrender, patience, and agreement. This is where divine flow becomes inheritance, not just experience. Chosen one. This is the moment many never reach because it requires consistency after the excitement fades. Unity is no longer new. The language is no longer dramatic. The miracles are no longer announced. And yet this is where the greatest stability is formed. Heaven values what lasts more than what dazzles. Anointed one. When unity matures, fear loses its leverage entirely. You no longer fear loss because you understand flow. You no longer fear change because you understand timing. You no longer fear growth because you understand stewardship. This freedom is not accidental. It is the fruit of alignment sustained over time. I've noticed that at this stage, blessings stop arriving as surprises and start arriving as confirmations. Not because God has become predictable, but because discernment has become sharper. You recognize patterns. You sense movements before they manifest. You feel peace before doors open. This is spiritual intelligence refined by unity. Chosen one. This is where heaven begins to entrust generational impact. Not everyone who experiences increase is trusted with continuity. Continuity requires structure. It requires values. It requires a shared understanding of why resources exist in the first place. Unified households carry this naturally because their vision is not split. Anointed one. Wealth at this stage is no longer measured only by accumulation. It is measured by resilience, by how well peace is protected under pressure, by how quickly alignment is restored after disagreement, by how consistently generosity flows without strain. These metrics matter more to heaven than numbers ever could. You may notice that life feels simpler even as responsibility increases. That simplicity is not reduction, it is clarity. When clarity governs, complexity loses power. You are no longer overwhelmed by options because you are guided by purpose. Purpose filters choices effortlessly. Chosen one. There is also a humility that deepens here. You understand how easily things could have gone differently. You remember seasons of confusion, tension, and fear. That memory keeps you grounded. It keeps you grateful. And gratitude keeps the flow clean. I've learned that gratitude is one of the strongest protectors of provision. Not performative gratitude, but lived gratitude. The kind that shapes decisions. The kind that honors process. The kind that resists entitlement. Entitlement corrodes unity. Gratitude strengthens it. Anointed one, you may also find that your household becomes a reference point for others. Not because you advertise it, but because stability speaks. People ask questions. They seek counsel. They observe how you move. This influence is not a burden. It is a responsibility, one that unified households carry with grace. Chosen one, do not underestimate the power of example. Many will never hear sermons about unity, but they will witness it lived. They will see how you navigate disagreement without division, how you face uncertainty without panic, how you grow without losing yourselves. This is testimony without words. At this stage, divine flow feels less like provision and more like partnership. You move with heaven, not ahead of it. You sense when to initiate and when to allow. You are not passive, but you are not forceful. This balance is rare and valuable. Anointed One partnership with heaven requires trust. Trust that what is withheld is as purposeful as what is released. Trust that seasons shift for reasons beyond comfort. Trust that alignment will always lead you where you need to be, even when the path looks unfamiliar. You may notice that some desires fade entirely, not because they were sinful, but because they were seasonal. Heaven removes what no longer serves the assignment. This pruning is gentle at this stage because roots are strong. You are not destabilized by change. You are strengthened by it. Chosen One. This is where peace becomes your compass, not convenience, not popularity. Peace. When peace remains, you move forward. When peace withdraws, you pause. This discernment keeps you aligned without constant striving. There is also a deeper joy that surfaces here, not excitement joy, joy that is steady, joy that is resilient, joy that does not depend on outcomes. This joy is evidence of surrender completed, and joy attracts favor effortlessly. Anointed One, heaven delights in households that operate from joy instead of fear. Fear demands control. Joy invites cooperation. When joy governs, even challenges become manageable. You face them together without blame, without panic. Chosen One legacy at this stage is no longer abstract. It is visible in habits, decisions, and relationships. It is visible in how children perceive money, in how community experiences generosity, in how conflict is resolved. Legacy is built quietly daily. Do not rush this stage. Do not try to amplify it. Let it mature fully. What is mature is durable. What is durable is trusted. And what is trusted is multiplied in time. Anointed One, heaven has watched your household move from fragmentation to alignment, from survival to stewardship, from fear to confidence. That journey matters. It qualifies you for what comes next, even if you cannot see it yet. Stay faithful to unity. Protect it without rigidity. Nurture it without obsession. Let it breathe. Let it grow. Let it guide. What you are carrying now is not fragile. It is established, and heaven recognizes it. This is divine flow sustained. Chosen One. As this message comes to rest in your spirit, know that nothing you have heard today is theoretical. Heaven has already begun to move. What felt delayed was being aligned. What felt heavy was being purified. And what once felt divided is now being drawn into sacred order. You are not waiting on the blessing is responding to your alignment. Anointed One, this is your Kairos moment, the appointed time where heaven and earth agree. The supernatural transfer you have sensed is already in motion, not because you strained for it, but because you surrendered to unity. What you and your household have aligned in covenant heaven is now backing with provision, favor, and peace that will not fail. May clarity rest on your decisions. May peace guard your conversations. May wisdom govern your stewardship. And may the flow that has been unlocked carry not only provision, but legacy for generations you may never meet, but will forever bless. Remain faithful. Stay aligned. Walk gently and gratefully into what is manifesting. You will recognize it not by noise, but by peace. If your spirit bears witness to this word, remain connected, subscribe to stay in this flow, and share this message with those you are called to build with. And if you feel led, leave a comment with your city as a quiet declaration that this anointing is touching your household now. Go forward, chosen one. Heaven has entrusted you, and the flow will follow.